Welcome back, and this is Breakfast Extra. And now we talk about earlier this week, 60 Minutes with Mr. K, a special news central program hosted by our managing director, Kayode Akintemi, aired an exclusive interview with Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa. It was a wide-ranging conversation covering the country's most pressing security challenges. General Musa spoke candidly about the rising wave of killings, banditry, and militancy, which he believes are linked to political manoeuvring ahead of the 2027 elections. He revealed concerns that armed groups may be weaponizing violence to undermine governance. He also floated a controversial idea, fencing Nigeria's borders with Niger, Cameroon, Chad, and Benin to check the inflow of weapons and militants. While inspired by models in Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, the practicality and cost of such a project for Nigeria remains a subject of debate. And on military conduct, General Musa defended the armed forces, insisting that operations are often delayed, adjusted, or aborted to minimize civilian casualties. He also raised questions about international laws that hold state militaries to stricter rules than the non-state militants they fight.
So this morning, we'll be reviewing the key issues raised in the interview with two seasoned analysts. First off, we have Devoe, Okorie, political and public affairs analyst, and we're also expecting Mr. Dennis Amachree. So Dennis Amachree is the national national security analyst and also security consultant. Well, for now, Devoe, Mr. Dennis is here with us. Thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen. So I'm going to start with Mr. Dennis. I would like to know, from an analytical perspective, do you think, and I'm focusing on the part of that interview that had to do with the welfare of soldiers. I'm wondering, from an analytical perspective, do you think that the CDS downplayed the issues of soldiers' welfare in the fight against insecurity? We're going to see if we can play that clip. But for now, let's get your answer on that.
Thank you very much. Yes, I watched the interview, and from what I saw, in fact, what the CDS said was that their salaries are being paid, they are being taken care of, and they are okay. So I think he even mentioned that although they have increased the salary to 100,000 minimum, that is not enough. They are still working on it to increase it better. I think that's forward-looking. But at the same time, you see, it is like too slow for the kind of sacrifice that these people are making in the field. Of course, with the casualties that we're having, I think to enhance the voluntary army that we have, because to join the army now is voluntary. They are not forcing people to join, so no conscription. So I think for voluntary army, they should be able to pay them better than what they're paying them now.
Interesting. So, Devoe, I'm going to take your take. But first, let's check that clip out from 60 Minutes with Mr. K, where he spoke about soldiers' welfare with the CDS.
I think then a soldier was receiving about 49,000 monthly. Now that has been doubled. No soldier is receiving less than 100,000 now. It's still small, but at least it's better than where we were. And I know Mr. President is also working towards increasing that and increasing so many other things for us because they are doing so much. They are doing so much. And now you've never had any soldier complaining about no payment of salaries or his allowances not denied. We follow up. Sometimes you see from the field, somebody will say maybe the food is not good. We find out what's really going on. Sometimes, again, because of where they are deployed, to even get food is a bit difficult. So we have to find the way and manner to be able to make sure that they are well fed. But I think averagely it's not bad. There's a great improvement.
Better than it's ever been.
Yes, this one's in the Northeast, twice monthly. There are welfare flights. We bring aircraft, pick them up, drop them. They go and see their families. 2 weeks later, they are back, just to make sure that we keep them going. They attend their courses, they get promoted, and so that has really doused a lot of issues on that.
A very interesting take there regarding soldiers' welfare and the strategy that's been put forward, or how they're supposed to work with whatever it is that they've got Now, Devoe, I'm sure that you saw 60 Minutes with Mr. K. I'm wondering how far can the poor welfare of these soldiers actually affect their morale within the armed forces? How can it undermine the strategies that we saw the CDS there outline, on the use of, well, at least getting soldiers to absolutely commit to their jobs?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. Having watched the CDS speak, although he sounded more like a politician, but he tried to put his best foot forward to make the army or our military forces look well run. I would say largely and generally our military are well taken care of. However, there are a few sore spots. First of all, like Mr. Amachree mentioned, the effectiveness or efficiency of their welfare, getting what is due to them as and when due. So we may not be hearing the issues of delayed payments anymore with serving soldiers, but we clearly are hearing the notable issues of our veterans, those who either have been discharged, who either have retired, or those especially, remember the welfare is not just the soldier himself, but his whole ecosystem. So especially families who have lost their loved ones in battle or on duty, how they are attended to. And this is where the morale is actually connected. And I believe our military systems should, at this point, given the infrastructure that they have, should have created some kind of, with the use of technology, something that actually ensures that their database, because I'm sure they have a proper database, their database is well articulated and put into the processes that are kicked in once either you lose a man on the field or he is injured or the family, because we should not be hearing these cases because it's such a blow to those who serve that the system is slow whenever they're injured or out of service or have retired. You can even see pensioners having to come up as far back as the Civil War till date, and all the issues. And then you start hearing different government organizations speaking from different sides of their mouth. I think these things should not happen. They truly send the wrong signal to the armed forces. And might I add that these days, our security architecture in Nigeria has taken the shape where the military more or less is the face of the security architecture and the police are in the boys' quarters.
Okay.
So if they're in the boys' quarters, imagine what happens to them.
Okay. All right, Devoe, thank you very much. Now, it's interesting that you should mention technology because I believe that's where we're moving on to next now.
But before, I asked or we asked the gentleman questions, I would like us to look at the clip of when the CDS was talking about, the use of AI and technology.
Okay, like with the level of advancement in Europe, borders don't really mean much, even though some of them still have fences erected to prevent them. You've seen how we're using AI to do so much. Indigenous companies producing those things. We're now making our own drones. We have our attack drones. We have our surveillance drones. We have so many things we're doing. Even missiles, as you saw the exhibition, the stand of the Nigerian Air Force. We're producing our own, so which means that we have to build those capacities because technology is everything now. That's what we're doing, using AI for analysis, using the drones for our surveillance issues and all this. So we'll continue to develop them. There are some other critical ones that we're also trying to build capacity. Now, I'm sure you saw this, the signing of the agreement for the Afridex next year in Nigeria. At least we want to have an international setting instead of going every time to other countries. Let's have everybody come here because we are trying to develop our own indigenous defense industry, and I think that is the key way out. From our experience, 16 years still fighting insurgency, one of the reasons again that where it's been prolonged is because we don't produce what we need. Sometimes even with your money, you can't get the items that you need to buy. So the frustration, also affects you. So what we're doing now is that Mr. President last year signed the DICOM bill, which has enabled us the ability to partner with original equipment manufacturers, buy some from them, then produce the rest in situ. We have started doing that. Now we can see, you saw what Prof was brought, EPAL, and all these other companies, Imperium, they're all producing locally made APCs and MRAPs. That is much, well, as we know, contemporary challenges have to do with movement. Great movement of criminals across the continent. So as long as they have freedom to move, to conduct their acts, it becomes difficult, and that's why borders are very critical. Now, if you look at the issue of the summit we just concluded, the importance of collaboration. Now, these guys live from point A to point B. Now, if we're able to freeze their movement from all these points, then which means it makes it impossible for them to move. It is the freedom that they get to move these items from one place to another that actually, boosts them in what they are doing. And that's why it's critical for us to get to understand ourselves that as Africans, our challenges are one and the same, and that we need to collaborate together. Because the tendency is to say, no, they're not coming to my place, so what the hell, why should I bother? But from what we have seen, when Boko Haram started in Nigeria, we wanted to bring our neighbors in. They felt it was not their business until when they turned against them. And so it's always like that. So being proactive is very critical. So that for countries that have not started, they should never allow asymmetric insurgency to come in, because it's a very difficult operation to eradicate, because mostly we are dealing with ideology, and ideology is somebody's mind. You can't read it on his forehead. So I think if working together as a team, which we have all realized and have agreed, that it's very important that we're able to synergize our efforts together to make it difficult. So if you see somebody coming from somewhere bringing something.
So, Dr. Mr. Dennis, having seen this visual, should Nigeria instead be focusing more on AI, drones, and modern surveillance tools, as the CDS said? However, he also mentioned that Nigeria should also focus on facing our borders. What's your take on that?
Well, very interesting, because I was smiling when I was listening to the CDS. He proposed that the 4,047 kilometers of borders between Nigeria and Benin, Niger, Chad, and Cameroon should be fenced. I think that was a very, very outdated idea, so to say, because since the wall of China, or the Beijing wall, has been, countries are moving away from fencing. In fact, to put it in better context, when Donald Trump of the United States said he wanted to fence the Mexican-US border, he tried to use it as a campaign gimmick, and he actually went ahead and tried to do it, but after spending $81.1 billion to fence only 774 kilometers, he has to give it up, because it does not make sense. Right now, what should be on, and that's why I was very happy to hear the CDS saying that you collaborate with your neighbors. I wrote an article on The Guardian about this, and of course, we recommended that there is a better use of technology, and then, of course, collaboration with your neighbors, which will be cost-effective, and then, of course, forward-looking, not fenced at all.
So, Mr. Dennis, you talked about the amount, the millions and the billions that they talked about doing a fence. The city has also mentioned database in terms of, in Africa, we don't have the right database compared to other countries. So do you think they should channel that into making sure that the database that immigration has is, is the same with the police? So should we focus all the energy to having the right database so that it will reduce criminal activities?
Of data sharing. And then, of course, the security agencies already have these things. Nigeria, we all have all the database that we need. FRCS have driver's license database. INEC has a voters card database. Universities have database of students. All kinds of database. We have NIN, NIN, and all the rest, BVN, the banks, all have the database of Nigerians. What is stopping us from integrating all these databases so that, we can easily, with the press of one button, you can get a whole bunch of information about yourself. Queen, you can go down to ChatGPT right now, put your name in there, and it will tell you things that you never thought about yourself before. So we are advancing. And these things are very, very commonplace right now. Let us integrate our data. And then, of course, like the CDS was saying, we should be able to, even facial recognition, and that is going to help insecurity across the country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dennis. Devoe, let's come back to you. Let's talk about what exactly is fueling insurgency, what exactly is fueling violence. During the interview, the 60 Seconds with Mr. K, the CDS actually said something very interesting. Now, while General Musa tried telling that rising violence, you know what, let me take that again. Let me play that clip first of all, and then I'm going to ask you the question. Devoe, do take a look.
State between the state and the state. So the enemy is that state trying to take over this state. Now the enemy is within, because your friend could be the same person that is dealing with them, could be the same person sponsoring them, could be the same person giving them information. If you notice, most of the arrests we have made of people conveying ammunition, conveying weapons and all these things are all from the communities. Most of them are into it. For some of them feel it is just trading. They're trying to make business. Some of them, for whatever reasons, they feel obliged to also support those terrorist groups. And without their support, it will have been extremely difficult for them to continue. And from within is because, again, they don't wear it. There's no mark on their face to say I'm a terrorist or I'm an insurgent or I'm a bandit. So that's what part of the thing that makes it extremely difficult, because you can't go to a place and say you're arresting everybody. You have to painstakingly be able to make sure, because of the legal systems of it, that the person is involved. I can tell you, at times we want to go with an aircraft, we want to carry out the strike, but because they are within civilians, we abort the strike. So these are the issues that are prolonging this war. People from within giving them support, selling weapons to them, selling ammunition, selling fuel, giving them food. These are the people that we're saying that are also part. So anybody who is dealing with.
So there, Devoe, Mr. Dennis, the CDS went on to attribute rising violence to the 2027 elections, the politics that we see in Nigeria. But the question now is, how much of it is also about poverty? How much of it is also about unemployment? Devoe, please.
Like I mentioned before, the CDS was a bit political in his responses. However, we have to, this whole conversation with the military is all about the security of Nigerians. And there have been a lot of narratives that have been pushed out to the public, coming from DHQ, coming from the CDS himself, about what is the cause of insecurity, or the delayed, protracted, the heightened insecurity in Nigeria. You've heard narratives like porous borders, which was why he was saying, oh, maybe we should fence it. Even though there are gaps there. He said stuff like ideologies, that people just believe for one reason or the other, that they should go against the state. You have a lot of non-state actors. Now, and because of ideologies, you have the creation of human shields, which is why you've not seen so much kinetic implementation of the military tactics. And it's since insurgency started, we were hearing the narrative of asymmetrical warfare, right? And he now gave clue to one of the major challenges, which actually holds, it's just that we don't have enough time to break it down, when he said the enemy is within. That's a very broad statement, hefty and very pregnant with issues. And what that means is that this warfare, or this battle against insecurity, is not so much about shooting or about bombing, which they can't. As you know, our Tucanos were almost rendered crippled simply because of the human shields being used. Now, if you go down the list of issues behind insecurity and some of the things that he mentioned about collaborators amongst locals, okay? People who are supporting and ensuring that these insurgents or bandits or kidnappers are successful. But I think he stopped short of calling sponsors, because at the end of the day, I've always said that I feel there's some level of compromise within the security architecture of our country, and I'm talking about the nexus between government, agencies, and the criminality itself. Because for donkey years, we have gone on analyzing and analyzing, even with the use of new weapons, the use of technology. I mean, about if I'm correct, over 20. I need to confirm that figure was spent on the buying of new weaponry during the Buhari administration, which is a good thing. But the point is, has that led to a decrease in the insecurity in the country? Now, with asymmetrical warfare, you would expect that intelligence, surveillance is in the forefront, because you need to actually get into the minds and hearts of these people to find out who is actually behind it. And that's why, to a large extent, we've never been able to come out with a concrete answer as to
who are the
sponsors, who are those.
A very solid query there, Devoe. Very solid query. But Devoe, let's take a break. We're going to come back to this conversation. Only this time when we come, I'd like to have Mr. Dennis take on this same question. But let's take a break now. We'll be back in just a few. You're welcome back. We're still conversing about, it's a review of the 60 Seconds with Mr. K that aired only just last week, having the CDS, Christopher Musa, as the guest. Now, from before we were talking with Devoe and also Mr. Amachree, Dennis Amachree. Devoe, you wanted to finish your point. Please, could you do that real quick so that we can get on to Mr. Dennis Amachree's take on that same question? Devoe, go ahead, please.
Yes, like I said, the enemy within that the CDS mentioned spoke to a large extent to the breakdown in intelligence and surveillance within this country, because I think he was saying something to us that many Nigerians didn't understand. It's almost like a parable, because when you say the enemies within, backed up by when Jonathan said some of the members of the insurgency are within my government, how come he didn't tell us who they were? The same way that we have crude oil being stolen in Nigeria on a daily basis, and forever we've not been able to get to the root of those behind it. Clearly, it's not the few barges that they've caught. Now, I just wanted to go through some aspects of that, of the enemy within. He spoke to social issues. And these social issues, even though the military is not the one meant to be speaking to it, it's actually an internal security affair. But he's put it forward, and it needs to be interrogated. When you start talking about issues of banditry, issues of kidnapping for ransom, cattle rustling, farmer-herder clashes, ethnic clashes, religious clashes, and even when you get to the one that we see on a daily basis, like the collaboration between the government and thugs, agberos. We see this everywhere, especially as the political season is getting closer. Even in Abuja, here in Abuja, you can see, in quotes, government agents who act like thugs in the name of collecting tax. Is that how the government is meant to work? These are all driving the level of insecurity in the country. Okay, then, Devoe. My point is, how is it that government is never able to use the infrastructure that it has currently to come out with clear, not just clear plans, to get to the square root of all the incidences that we get to? None of the cases almost get completed. At the end of the day, they've given you two names for those who were behind insurgents. Have they given us a background? Have they given us how the two captures that have led to is going to reduce insurgency? We continue skirting the issues over and over again. It just seems as if there's no end to what we're doing, and we need to understand that, like I said, this lack of directly pointing out where the root of the issue is in terms of the breakdown in our security architecture.
All right, then, Devoe. Mr. Dennis Amachree, what's your take on this?
Very much. I think Devoe has said it all. He has said it all, because when you look at it, we have a basic, to summarize all this. I think what we need is a political will, to political will to hold the bull by the horn. Because definitely we know, like, Devoe said, Jonathan said he knew that there are some people in his government that are supporters of Boko Haram, but he didn't do anything about it, And then, of course, recently there have been some confession in the public space. Baraje's confession is there. How bandits were brought into this country during election. And then, of course, there are the people that were sponsoring them, the people that were giving them stipends, have come out to say all this. It's in the public space. So when we talk of the enemy within, we're not going to talk about people who are selling kerosene or selling fuel to bandits. You know, those are not the enemies we are talking about. We're talking of the big ones. We're talking about the sponsors of terrorism, the financiers. You know, those people that have been collecting the big ransom. Look at those bandits. They collected 100 million, from kidnapping somebody, and then look at them. They are in ragtags. So where is the 100 million? Where did it go to? I think it went to the sponsor, who went ahead and bought an AK-47, which is about 400,000 naira for one. So it is very, very important that we, remove the facade, face the thing. We've identified the problem. Well, let us go ahead and solve the problem by bringing these people accountable. Those who are in government right now, those who are out of government, those who have been associated with this, insecurity and insurgency, and then bring them to book. Because if we don't do that, we'll be running around in circles, and then, of course, couching it with political statements, and then, of course, the problem continues for 16 good years.
Unfortunately, we don't have time on our hands, and I want to say thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, Devoe, Okorie, and Mr. Dennis Amachree. It was such an amazing time having to unpack these key issues raised in the 60 Minutes with Mr. K with both of you. It was really an honor, and this clears the Nigerian security challenges. And we know that they are not only about weapons and militants, they're also deeply tied to politics, policy, and public trust. Thank you so much.